on. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Logan. This is Timeless Personal Growth and Development, and today I have an interesting topic for you guys today. You ever heard of that saying that you are what you eat? Well, that phrase, it applies to working out, your physical well-being. But I find what we don't talk about enough is our mental well-being. And in terms of our physical well-being, we always get told eat the right foods, go exercise, put the right foods in your body, eat a lot of vegetables, stay away from carbs, stay away from processed sugar, stuff. Put the right foods in your body for your body to feel good, which is great, which is fantastic. What we don't talk about is here. Put the right things in your mind. So what I'm asking you guys to reflect on today is, what are you putting in your mind? What are you reflecting on? What content are you watching? And is the content you're watching good for you, or is it toxic for you? Because right now we live in the knowledge-based world. It is the knowledge age right now. We want to know anything, we can just go on our computer, just go on our phones, and find out any answer to any question you want at any moment during the day. There's so much information out there. If you want to learn anything, any kind of skill, it's there for you. It's there for you to learn. But there's also a lot of nonsense. There's also a lot of crap out there on the media, on the news, on streaming services, stuff like that. There's a lot of content that can cause us to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy, and content that's not necessarily good for us. Endless amounts of streaming and binge watching on Netflix, and it's great, it's wonderful, it's entertaining, but what is it really doing for you in the long run? You like coming home after a long day and watching your shows? It's fine, that's cool. But if you're spending all day binge watching the Netflix, what are you gaining from that? What are you feeding your mind? And are the things and this is the important part, really need you guys to pay attention to this part, is that whatever we're watching, whatever content it is, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's going to affect the way we think. It's going to affect your psyche. So if you're putting toxic content into your brain and things are not necessarily good for you, I'll give you a perfect example. You remember the show Jerry Springer back in the 90s? I think it was the 80s or the 90s. It was just filled with just relationship drama and problems, and yes, it did very well. Got a lot of ratings. Did great. It was very entertaining. But as a young person watching that kind of show, what does that make you think relationships is about? It's all about chaos and all about drama, all about problems and just abusing each other. That's a problem. Yes, that show, I'm using that show as an example. That show was a good example of a show that's based solely on entertainment. But it's crap. It's toxic. It's garbage. Because it gives you a very, very toxic, negative point of view of relationships with men and women. And yes, if you watch stuff like that, you're going to go into relationships thinking that's what it's about. That you're always going to be fighting and abusing each other. It's always going to be a toxic environment, and that's not good for you. So ask yourself, what are you putting into your brain right now? What content are you watching? And I'll give you a little example. For me, I was on a road trip last week, and we were with my girlfriend, and we were driving back, and she was putting on the radio, going through different stations, and got to a station talking about the pandemic. And I stopped listening to news on the pandemic about 4 months ago because I was tired of it. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of frustration what I felt, and it wasn't good for me. It wasn't even good for my brain. It wasn't making me feel good. It was making me very anxious and frustrated and angry, and yelling at the TV of all these decisions that some I agree and some I don't agree with. And I noticed myself in the car with my girlfriend listening to this radio station about the pandemic and decisions that are going to be put forward, talking about vaccine passports and all that. I noticed myself getting very angry, very frustrated, and starting to yell at the radio. My girlfriend kind of laughed and just like, okay, Logan, you're getting a little worked up. We're going to turn this off and switch to some music. And I told her, good, thank you. Listening to music is better for me and better for my psyche, because it took 2 minutes for me to listen to pandemic news for me to get angry and frustrated again. I need to block that out and stop listening to news on the pandemic, news about vaccines, vaccine passports, to stop. It's not good for me. And I realized months ago it's not good for me, and it's not good for my psyche and for my way of thinking. I'm not feeding my brain with healthy things. So now I honestly prefer, and it's been like this for a few years now, I prefer listening to podcasts. Things that are going to feed my brain with healthy things, that are going to challenge my way of thinking, and things that are going to improve my brain, and things that are good for my brain and healthy for my brain and non-toxic. So I like having my phone when I'm doing something else, when I'm busy, where I'm cleaning, listen to a podcast. Listening to something that's beneficial. Right now I love listening to Jocko podcasts. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's helped me improve my way of living, and helps it actually change the way I think about things in a positive way that benefits me and benefits the people in my life. So you got to ask yourself that question. That what are you feeding your brain? Because you could be feeding your body all the right foods in the world, but if you're not feeding your brain the right content, it's going to affect your psyche. It's going to affect your way of thinking, which is going to affect your behavior, which is going to affect your performance out in the world, at your job, with your friends and your family. We don't know the degree of how influential media, TV, YouTube, news, everything can have on our way of thinking. And think about this. Once this pandemic started, if we didn't have social media, TV, news media, if we didn't have any of that, do you think it would have affected us in the same way and caused the same amount of angst and anxiety and stress? No, probably not. And there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of accurate things, maybe non-accurate things, but it's hard to tell what resource, what news outlet is legit and which is not. We don't know. It confuses us, and we don't know what to think. So what's the best thing to do? Turn that shit off completely and go digest things that are healthy for your mind, healthy for your brain, and that will improve your quality of living. And be aware of the things that you're putting into your brain and what you are listening to, because it will affect your psyche, your way of thinking, and your behavior, and it will affect your quality of life. And on that note, thanks for watching, guys. If this message was of value to you, like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Logan Ryder, Timeless Personal Growth and Development. I'll see you all in the next video.